Why is it that the New Orleans Saints, with Derek Carr's knowledge of the playbook, could be the surprise team, especially in that division, Bloom? Lots of positive reports about the Saints quarterback and how he's happy with what he's learned in that offense.
Yeah, maybe the offense gets a little bit more loose, less Taysom Hill, more conventional passing game. Andy Dalton's peripheral numbers, his efficiency numbers were actually pretty good last year. He didn't throw a lot of passes. Derek Carr throwing more passes, maybe a healthy Michael Thomas, Chris Olave coming into his own, Rashid Shaheed, don't forget him, the deep threat, and Juwan Johnson, who Derek Carr said, "Go watch Julian Edelman's tape." Now, I think that's probably a good thing for fantasy football. And Juwan Johnson knows he's going to work those quick opening routes, underneath routes. So all those pieces together, yeah, I think that you could have a better functioning passing game than what we saw. Of course, we're going to see some turnover in the backfield. Jamal Williams, Kendre Miller, waiting to hear eventually if there'll be a suspension for Alvin Kamara. And then on the other side of it, you look at some of these defenses they'll be facing: Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Carolina. It makes sense that the Saints, hey, if they just hadn't blown that game against Tampa on Monday night, where they were up, I think 16-3, they would have won the division, hosted a playoff game. So it's not difficult to picture them improving.
And meanwhile, the Raiders may go get Carson Wentz. So congrats with that. But doesn't it feel like the Saints could be that surprise team? Because you only need one from that division. They might be the only one, but look at the defenses they'll face. And then,
Yeah,
Bloom, look at the opposing quarterbacks
right,
that they'll face. Like, we love Bryce Young, but that's on the come up, right?
right.
Who knows what's going to really happen with Tampa Bay, although we kind of know. And, Atlanta, Desmond Ritter, hey, how's he do under pressure? That's my
Yeah,
main
let's
question.
see. Let's see. And then you have the defense, Dennis Allen's defense. We know that's the strong suit of this team. And you imagine them, you say a surprise team, and a team against a defense against San Francisco, against Philadelphia, against Dallas. They could keep that game close. They give that team a puncher's chance again with that better quarterback play with Derek Carr. So, yeah, I think down here in New Orleans, they would love to see that because have you read some of the stuff about Zion? I didn't even mention that. Let's forget that we
Don't
had this
mention that. Right.
conversation. But
Right.
yeah, the Pelicans, when they're in the news right now, it's not great. So yeah, let's hear some positive news about New Orleans sports.
The Nuggets are in the news, and it's great. Coming off their first ever championship, Bloom. So it's a
Yeah.
party here in the Mile High City. Is it going to be a party, though? Because this will keep Dennis Allen's job.
Yeah.
Like, is that necessarily a good thing?
Right. Well, that's the thing. There's a lot of these coaches that are making decisions to preserve their job for this year. I think that was the theory behind Jimmy Garoppolo and the signing with the Raiders that keep that team around 8 wins, 9 wins, and Josh McDaniels can string it out. So, see, we've talked about quarterback purgatory on this show for a long time. Maybe we need to talk more about coach purgatory. Again, and this goes back to the draft too when we talk about, well, if you're wrong, you don't lose your job, and they're wrong, they lose their job. That's not a good bias. When the front office, when the coaching staff is making decisions to keep their job, that's not necessarily in the same interest of the long-term health of the team, the team's ability to get better, to maybe eventually reach the Super Bowl, what the fans are looking for. So yeah, I think that we looked at Dennis Allen as kind of a stopgap because when Sean Payton retired, who really wanted to come and have this job kind of cleaning up the mess, right? The Saints are the team that was always kicking pain under the salary cap into the future, mortgaging
Right.
the present for the future, or for the future for the present. So who wanted to inherit that situation? You're like, well, let's just keep Dennis Allen around. That may end up happening longer than expected.
Yeah, and that's kicking the can further than you expected. But here we go, and this is what happens in these sorts of situations. Saquon Barkley going to hold out.
No.
Like he said, he's okay to hold out into the regular season. I know he has to say this. It's June, but July 17th, deals get done at deadlines. He doesn't even want to reset the running back market. So I get what he's saying, but that's a shocking headline. Like, hold out into the regular season. I thought those were done.
Yeah, and I think they are done. I think this is one of those situations where everyone's just saying their lines.
Ask
This
Melvin Gordon what holding out into the regular season gets you.
yeah, it's over. It's over. Le'Veon Bell, and this is another one. Cease. I just want to say because I'm going to go there. Well, there were a lot of people pointing fingers at Lamar Jackson not having an agent, saying, oh, he's messing up his situation. He's actually acting against his own interests, right? Well, it ends up Lamar Jackson do just fine. Even better when you really put in that he doesn't have to pay some percentage to an agent. Remember, everyone thought Le'Veon Bell sitting out the season. Terrible move. Well, he was one of the last running backs to get a big contract. So was it really that terrible? Saquon Barkley can't pull Le'Veon Bell because of the new CBA, and honestly, because he doesn't really have any leverage. This is a terrible situation. We've chronicled this for a long time. I don't even remember the first time on this show. I said running backs need to have their own union, but a running back salary for an average starter, someone like Dave Montgomery, it's around the same amount as a kicker. I mean, some people might say kickers are just as important as running backs and not as replaceable. But these are the players that give a lot physically to their teams. Teams
Mm.
know they can burn them out on their rookie deals. Teams know they can get replacement veterans for street free agent, veteran minimum salaries. So Barkley has no leverage here. And the other thing we need to look at, Cease, is when did we used to talk about the running back cliff? 30, right?
Yeah, that
Teams
was always the number.
teams, I think, now see it as 27 or 28 as far as they're concerned. That doesn't mean that running backs can't continue to be productive after 27 or 28, but as far as teams paying for your seasons, for your expected production, they're not paying for age 28, 29 seasons. For Saquon Barkley, every year that you don't get whatever the market will offer is a year you're not going to get back. So again,
Mhm.
we look at Le'Veon Bell's situation, how he played it. And actually, by today's terms, it would have been impossible. So I think that it's impossible that Barkley's going to get more than the franchise
Yeah.
tag from the Giants. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say my, FedEx driver is a huge Giants fan,
Yeah.
so every time he delivers me comic books, and I have a lot of comic books,
Right.
he's always talking about, "Yeah, we're making that run," and I was thinking, "Okay, so long as Barkley's there," because I
Yeah.
know fantasy GMs have been snapping up Eric Gray, although Matt Bryde is still there, and they'd likely go get someone. Hell, they could go get James Robinson today,
Yeah.
because the Patriots cut him. But like, okay, in that division, we talked about the Saints being a surprise team. I don't think the Giants will be a surprise team necessarily, Bloom, but make a postseason run as a wild card. We know that Philadelphia is most likely to win that division. Yeah, I could see it, but Barkley's got to be there.
Yeah, Barkley's got to be there because other than maybe Darren Waller, and let's face it, what are the chances that you get an impactful Darren Waller come December, January? Not as much as the chances you get one in September, October. Who in the passing game? I like Paris Campbell. I like Darius Slayton. Jalen Hyatt's interesting. But who in the passing game really strikes fear in the hearts of defenses? It's Saquon Barkley. The matchup
Mhm.
problems he can create in the passing game, the big plays that he can create. So yeah, Barkley's key to this offense, but still, he doesn't have any leverage. He's not going to get anything out of this team. There was some talk that there was an offer out there around like 13 million a year, and it did go up a little bit. Okay. And while we're on this subject, uh, people saying he should have taken the deal at 12 something a year or 13 million a year. Here's the problem. Until about 5 minutes before the franchise tag deadline, he had a chance to be a free agent. If Daniel Jones had not signed a contract, then he would have been the franchise tag player, and Saquon Barkley could have gotten his true value, whatever that is. Maybe it's less than he thought, but whatever it was going to be. So you had to play it out like that. That was the biggest EV move for him to hit the free agent market and have all 32 teams negotiating with them. So timing was a problem here. And yeah, maybe the Giants wouldn't give him that deal now that they got the deal done with Daniel Jones and they can just keep him under the franchise tag.
Timing in football and in life is everything. And well, to have timing, you have to have rhythm, and the rhythm of the drum beat for Traylon Burks. See what it did, Bloom?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Paid professional. It's every day. You and I cover the news for footballguys.com. Subscribe to our free daily newsletter. Get it every morning. Hot takes or just the takes you need to know because hot takes are dumb. Right to your inbox every single morning with takes written by Sigmund, myself, and Joe Bryant. I don't know how many times I've gotten positive Traylon Burke stories this offseason. And hell, Tennessee's looking for somebody.
Yeah.
But our dear friend Jim Wyatt, I love Jim. Should wear my visor in honor of Jim or Sean Payton. He's saying it's a favorite target of Ryan Tannehill. All right, who's the favorite target of Will Levis? That's what I want to know.
Right.
But it seems like every time you turn around, it's hitting us over the head. Mike Vrabel, oh, he's more comfortable, he's more confident. Like, okay, we get it. What does it mean?
Right. Well, this is going to be one of those glass half full, glass half empty situations where we look at the Tennessee offense, whether it's Tannehill, Levis, this doesn't look like it's going to be a good offense. Offensive line issues. You were reluctant. Derrick Henry, even though he still produced like Derrick Henry last year, you're seeing him fall to the late second round, even the third round in drafts because of our reluctance to invest in this offense. Now, that being said, on the glass half full side, somebody's got to touch the ball. Somebody's got to catch the ball. And if this is a team that's a losing team, then you are looking to the passing game more. Traylon Burks, those conditioning problems from last year, that's in the rearview mirror, very small. Injuries during the season didn't really create a lot of momentum. So absolutely, you're going to see his athleticism get into play. But can we just talk about Chiggy Okonkwo again? Because that's another player that you have to consider here if it's not Burks. And then DeAndre Hopkins visited over the weekend. So even if it isn't Hopkins, this could be a team in the market for a veteran receiver. So on one hand, you're looking at Burks, you're looking at Okonkwo as potentially the number one target in this pass offense, but also this team might be looking for a new number one target because they see what we see. The offense is no good.
Yeah, not very good. Makes me sad about Tajay Spears as well. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, well,
But just
he's
wait.
another one. He's another one, Cease,
Hmm.
that could get a lot of
Oh yeah,
run. I mean, there's talk that he could get as much work as he can handle, and
he's their
he
Kamara.
right, exactly. So, we're gonna be watching this when training camps open to see those connections, to see who gets emphasized in the offense, because like we said, somebody's gonna have to do it, and depending on how you're projecting this team, different parts of the offense or passing game might be more important.
You just went roller skating, Bloom. I don't know if
Yeah.
they played any CNC Music Factory. That was more early
Mm,
90s
yeah, a couple of songs from
than
Off the
80s.
Wall. That
Okay.
was my jam, man. Off the Wall is
Okay.
better than
Off the
Thriller.
Wall's better than Thriller. That's
Yeah.
my hot take, right?
Yeah.
But like CNC Music Factory had Freedom, the
Uh-huh.
rapper Freedom. So we're going
Yeah.
to talk about the freedom of Lamar Jackson in this offense. John
Right.
Harbaugh commenting saying like, "Hey, he's got the ability to audible immediately." So this will be I'm not saying Jim Kelly calling his own plays like he did with the K gun of the Bills back in the day. That's a dated reference.
Mhm.
But yeah, it could be the L gun, J gun, like it could be the Lamar Jackson show, is what I'm
Right.
saying, because it's him calling the shots. That sounds pretty interesting to me, especially Zay Flowers, everybody.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers. That's all I got to
Yeah.
say. Zay
Yes.
Flowers.
Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham healthy, Rashad Bateman. Absolutely. And this is I think that I especially get excited about new offensive coordinators, new offenses. I'm trying to calm down a little bit and also make sure that get excited about offenses in the second year under an offensive coordinator because that's really going to take that next step. But we also have to add a bump for Baltimore because how much was Greg Roman holding this offense back? I've said this on the show many times, but there was a point when Lamar Jackson said a few years back that it felt like the defenses knew the plays. And they're not going to know the plays, especially if Lamar's calling them, right? I mean, this is giving him the power to keep the defenses off balance and a much more robust passing game, keep defenses off balance. So that makes you look at Lamar Jackson as going all the way back to when he did have to drop on defenses in 2019, that kind of fantasy ceiling where he's open up, unleashed as a passer, which actually can help him be more productive as a runner and stay healthier because defenses aren't going to be keyed on him as this passing game. The cupboard has been bare, both in terms of ideas, concepts, innovation, and personnel. So to have Lamar Jackson as the number one fantasy quarterback this year, absolutely is within the range of outcomes. Going off the board is the number 4 in most drafts. So you don't want to pay up for Jalen Hurts, for Patrick Mahomes, for Josh Allen, but you still want to have a chance to have that unfair advantage quarterback. Everything's pointing to Lamar Jackson getting a chance to be that quarterback again.
I feel life is like a country song, Bloom. So
Hmm.
there's got to be some sort of lemon twist, like some sort of irony, like 18 wheels and a dozen roses, some
Hmm.
sort of alliteration, right?
Hmm.
Because I feel huge mini camp news, the title of today's show, just kind of funny because it's huge,
Yeah.
but it's mini, the
Yeah.
mini. Um, what we're getting here in San Francisco is watching Jordan Mason. Now, Jordan Mason moving up the depth chart to number 3 appears to have passed Tyrion Davis Price. This is according to Jerry McDonald from the San Jose Mercury News. But this is incredibly important for fantasy GMs because Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell are at the top of the depth chart.
Right.
Love Christian. Elijah's great. They both get hurt a lot. So you bet your ass you want to know, sorry, Joe, who the number
Yeah.
3 49ers running back is. And right now that's Jordan Mason. So maybe not on the huge scale. Maybe this is a little smaller of huge,
Right.
but like, yeah, get your popcorn ready. Watch that 49ers backfield.
Yeah, it's potentially huge in the sense, Cease, of when you look on the horizon and you see that little dot, and is it getting bigger? And is it by the time you get to it, is it going to be huge? Or is it still going to be a little dot? Well, that's going to depend on the health of McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell. But what we've seen from Jordan Mason during OTAs, at least one report saying he's faster, he's leaner. You have also Elijah Mitchell missing time with an undisclosed injury. I think that we can all see, and hey, Elijah Mitchell is an excellent 6th-round pick. Elijah Mitchell has been a boon for this offense, and he's a terrific fit in their running game. However, I think the over-under for games played for Elijah Mitchell in any given year can't be higher than 7, 8, 9 games.
Right.
That then enter, like you say, Tyrion Davis Price, and I don't know if it's Kyle Shanahan. I think it's probably Kyle Shanahan. Who keeps making these Trey Sermon, Joe Williams? Who keeps making these picks?
Yeah.
Because again, like Elijah Mitchell or your UDFAs, Raheem Mostert, etc. Jordan Mason. What we saw last year, there were some times that it seemed like Mason should get work. There was opportunity for him to get work,
Hmm.
and maybe he made the team more on his special teams prowess. They weren't really excited to get him on the field. Now they could be more excited to get him on the field. And see, so I think there's a possibility that he could outright take the job from Elijah Mitchell. Not so much that a healthy Elijah Mitchell is going to be overtaken by a healthy Jordan Mason, but once that injury seal's broken for Elijah Mitchell, let's see what happens in training camp. It's possible that he's not healthy enough to overtake Jordan Mason. So this is absolutely important. And when does it become important? Does it become important in week 4, week 8, maybe not until week 16? I don't know, but I want any San Francisco running back who has a chance to start. We say plug and play running games, Shanahan, those two things go together like peanut butter and jelly.
And I'll say this toast and jam, windows.
Yeah,
I want Jordan Mason. That window might be 2 weeks, but you know
right.
what I'm going to do in those 2 weeks? I'm going to win.
Win.
So, windows, everybody. Love
That's why they
Christian
call them
McCaffrey.
windows. Huh?
Windows starts with W.
That's right.
Win starts with W. It's not a coincidence. So yeah, we are watching this. And what else we're watching, Bloom? And in 2 successive days, you
Uh-huh.
wrote about Tank Bigsby. I
Yeah.
wrote about Tank Bigsby. We didn't consult each other,
No.
but we're of that same mind of like, hey, everybody, something's going on
Yeah.
in Jacksonville. So I don't want to say running back by committee,
It's
but
running back by
Bigsby
committee.
could out touch the starter and the lead back and Travis Etienne.
Yeah, and the key here is that there are things that Travis Etienne can provide. Speed, passing game ability, we'll see. It hasn't
Mm.
really lived up to billing, but there are things that Travis Etienne hasn't been able to provide. And when they take Tank Bigsby in the 3rd round, first of all, that tells you they have a 2nd-round grade on him. Tells you that they see him as a core contributor to this backfield. Really, the only variable here is what is Tank Bigsby ready for? If he's ready for the James Robinson role, then he may get that role. And if you like Jacksonville to win this division, if you like Jacksonville as an encore to winning a playoff game, to win maybe 11 games, 12 games in the regular season as a team that is head and shoulders above the competition in the AFC South, that's Tank Bigby's music because you have 4th quarters where he's closing out the game. You have him closing out drives. You have this offense, again, Calvin Ridley. What's that going to mean for this offense? Having that X that can really stretch defenses and not having a lot of slot receivers basically interchangeably playing in more of a dink and dunk pass offense, which worked very well last year. But again, what was I just saying? Let's think about not just the new offenses, the new offensive coordinators, but the offense is where now it's year 2. So everyone's fluent in the offense. Now we can take that offense to the next level along with Calvin Ridley, Tank Bigsby, a powerful slasher. Yeah, I think this is great. I think that, see, this is going to sound familiar. Rookie running backs, some of these rookie running backs, Zach Charbonnet, Devin A.
Mhm.
Chain. These are the guys you want to be looking at until their ADPs come up, and Bigsby's one of the cheapest of them all.
Yeah, so keep an eye on that, and we should do a show, Bloom, on second-year players.
Yeah,
'Cause I think second year players, it's like a used car, right?
right,
It's like, everyone's excited about the rookies, which is great. You've been in drafts with me where I draft almost all rookies because 'cause
right.
I'm crazy. But, like, I think that second year shine should be there for a lot of these players. Obviously, we're not dealing with that when we talk about Tanks Bigsby because he's a new guy, but second year offenses are like second year players,
Yeah,
and people need to realize where the value lies therein. You mentioned Charbonnet. It seems like we're always writing about him on the newswire, positive reports coming out of Seattle. And then another guy that's been a little bit hit and miss, and we also have the DeAndre Hopkins
yeah.
like signing floating around somewhere. But Elijah Moore is a breakout
Mhm.
candidate. Yeah, you wrote about that this weekend, Bloom.
Yeah.
So yes, he is. Again, unless DeAndre Hopkins signs there.
Right, and I think that is a problem because it would be if Hopkins signs there. And look, both with Cook and Hopkins, you have that initial surge. Oh, Cook's going to go to Miami. That's who's interested in him. Well, Cook wants the 11 million or so he was going to get from Minnesota. Miami's not going to pay that. Hopkins also developing his market. The relationship with Deshaun Watson seemed to maybe be the strongest force factor influence in where he's going to end up. Well, we'll see. But Elijah Moore, Zach Jackson from the Athletic saying it looks like clearly, obviously, a potential breakout player, catching everything, favorite target for Deshaun Watson. And talking about post hype, right? The Elijah Moore hype was pretty strong last year, and Elijah
Oh yeah.
Moore can play. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Kind of rode his own ticket out of town while the team was in a winning streak, complaining about his usage. So I think that maybe he got what he wanted. And when we look at Deshaun Watson, we were interested in David Bell. And again, I bring this up all the time. Deshaun Watson and Hunter Renfro. It's why I like Geeky Cutie so much. Got to get those socks back on. But I think that Elijah Moore makes a lot of sense as that slot receiver, but not like a Kiki Cutie did have some deep speed or Hunter Renfro. Elijah Moore is a really dynamic player. So it makes sense to me that Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples Jones on the boundaries, stretching out the defense, and then you let David Njoku and Elijah Moore crisscross, zigzag, slice and dice. And I think this is going to be not necessarily a second year offense because Deshaun Watson wasn't really even in the offense for a year. But there's a lot of talk that the offense we're going to see Cleveland have this year is very different than what we saw last year. Maybe they weren't even really trying to install anything for Deshaun Watson last year. They are doing that this year. And at least right now, Elijah Moore is going to be a big part of that.
Let's talk about, to wrap things up on today's edition of the Audible, Cecil Lammey, Sigmund Bloom. Justin Fields is not going to be a robotic passer. This is according to Luke Getzey. Again, that's another one of those notes and one of those phrases because as a young quarterback who needs to be better as a passer, we all love Justin Fields. I think expecting a Jalen Hurts jump from him is getting ahead of yourself.
Premature.
Yes, because Hurts was a much better passer than Fields was. Now Fields can get there, okay, but if he's not going to be a robotic passer, it means he's going to do what he's going to do without thinking, and that's great. Now, what is that going to be? Is it going to be tucking the ball and running?
Right.
I'd venture to guess yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. And look, players evolve. And you mentioned Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was a half beat behind when you watch him in Alabama, right?
Mhm.
Oklahoma, a
Yep.
half beat behind. That sped up. Shane Steichen. That's why it's so interesting to think about Steichen with Anthony Richardson. But we're talking about Justin Fields. But notice the common theme here. These are players that, with that strong base of rushing stats for fantasy football, if you just get average passing stats from them, now you're in the stratosphere for fantasy football. Justin Fields was a very strong fantasy quarterback in the second half of the year last year when he was healthy, even though the passing game was atrocious. So if the passing game just comes up a little bit, now you're really excited. But I think you hit the key point. If he's not robotic, what I remember watching at Ohio State was he's just not comfortable attacking as a passer outside of structure. You can see different things about how he holds the ball, where his eyes are. how quick he is to start getting up to speed. And it is a high speed that he can get up to once he becomes
Mhm.
a runner, but he's not necessarily a patient player or even a player I think that understands. See, it's one of the things I think is one of the most underrated tools for a quarterback, right? The pump fake. You can totally manipulate the defense with a pump fake. You don't even have to really do a pump fake. You even just have to move the ball. Ben
All it
Roethlisberger is
is your
really good at it.
shoulder. Just
Yeah,
dip your shoulder. You
yeah,
don't have to do the Ben Roethlisberger, almost gonna throw, change your
yeah.
mind, bring it back.
That's true. That's true. But it manipulates a defense. But what it also shows me is a slowed down, deliberate thinking, even though the bullets are flying and everything's happening really fast around you. And I just don't know if Justin Fields is there yet. So I think you're right. Now for fantasy, what's the difference if he's racking up the stats as a runner? But as far as his ability to progress as a passer and get to that next level, and getting DJ Moore into play, and that seems to be a clear connection, and then taking advantage of Darnell Mooney, of Chase Claypool, of this, you got speed, you got quickness, you got size, you've got skill with DJ Moore, but can you take advantage of that? And then I guess we still have to be agnostic about Luke Getsy and what do we really know about Luke Getsy as an offensive coordinator, as an offensive mind, being with Aaron Rodgers. So a lot of question marks here, and I, like you said, Cease, I don't know if I almost would want him to be not robotic, but operating within structure as a passer because I think that's where the good things are going to happen for him.
Yeah, I almost wouldn't mind if he was a little bit like, "Okay,
One read, two
here,
read, go.
here," yeah, and then take that step in year 3, like, continue on in that next year of this offense, so, either way, we'll keep eye on that and, of course, keep you up to date on all the news. Again, check out that Football Guys free daily newsletter. It's available at footballguys.com, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Smash the freaking like button
Yeah,
as I go den of nerds on you with the huge news from
and
Minicamp. He's Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on Twitter at Sigmund
Cease.
Bloom. Yeah.
We gotta talk about audible dads too, right?
Oh, okay.
You
Audible
know, it's
dads.
Father's Day. It's Father's Day.
It
There's going to be
is.
a Father's Day discount. We always talk about supporting the show. You want to
Yes.
support the show? Go to footballguys.com/audible dads to get your Father's Day discount. Whether you're buying it for your favorite father or father figure or buying it for yourself because you deserve it. So it's time. And we're getting ready to roll out our undervalued, overvalued players, sleeper, all the series that you love. It's all going to start coming out. So don't wait another day to indulge yourself with a footballguys.com subscription, footballguys.com/audible dads.
Yeah, make it happen. Footballguys.com/audible dads. He's Sigmund Bloom at Sigmund Bloom on Twitter. I'm at Cecil Lammey. The show is at The Audible. There's only one. Anyway, until next time, be safe, be kind, know that you're appreciated. Stay tuned, and would you please always stay frosty.